So today we are cooking braised kale. You can use any winter green that you want. I'm going to throw in some collards as well. I've started the recipe with a little bit of just a diced onion. Then I'm sauteing in olive oil with a little bit of salt. And the salt keeps the onion from browning too quickly, so it gets nice and translucent without caramelizing. I'm just stripping the stems off of my kale. You do that by making a little loop with your fingers and just pulling it down the stem. You get the stem, you get the leaves. I'm going to do the same thing to the collards. Add the stems to my sauteing onions. The stems I'm adding first because they just take a couple extra minutes to soften. Most people throw the stems out, but you don't need to, particularly when you have nice, fresh, young greens like this. They're really good in there. They add another layer of texture to this recipe. And again, I don't want the onions to brown, so those greens are going to add some more moisture. And meanwhile, I'm going to strip my collards down. So I have kale in here and I have collards, but you could also use Swiss chard. You could even use the tops of beets or turnips. Some people throw those out, but they're really a delicious green if you just saute them up. You can add some flavorings. Today the secret ingredient is going to be a smoked chili, a dried chili pepper called an ancho chili, and it's going to bring that nice smoky flavor but not heat. It's not a hot pepper. Ah, earthquake!
What does that do?
This is a salad spinner, and it gets all the water. My goodness, it gets all the water out of the greens. And I want the water to come out of the greens so that they will saute and not steam. So I have nice washed dried greens. I have onions in the pan. I have the stems cooking a little bit ahead of time. Now I'm going to add my flavorings. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic, nice big plump garlic, that I'm just going to crush lightly so that the skin comes off. Now this is just a crushed clove of garlic. If I minced it, I would get a lot more pungent garlic flavor out of it. But because it's just crushed, it's going to give a nice mellow flavor without a lot of that pungency that you can get from a heavily minced chopped garlic. Secret ingredient, the ancho chili. You could use ancho or chipotle, and I love these because they bring the same smoky flavor that you would get out of, you see in southern food, a lot of greens start with ham hocks or with bacon, and I love that flavor and I love those ingredients. But sometimes they're a little hard to find. This is nice and easy to have on hand. Now I'm just rolling these greens up into a bunch. You don't have to be delicate with them. And then just slicing through in long strips like this. This is called chiffonade. And put the greens right on top there. You could just saute these things down, and then you could add maybe some white beans and Parmesan cheese. Put that over pasta, put it with rice. I'm going to serve it as on croutons, as like a little hors d'oeuvre today, but it's really versatile just to saute the greens, add a little liquid, braise them down, put them in the refrigerator. They'll keep for 3 to 5 days, and you'll have them on hand. Toss them with some broth and you have an instant soup. You could put them with some potatoes. Have like a colcannon, like that. That's a traditional Irish combination of cabbage and potatoes. Now I'm sauteing the greens rather than just adding the liquid right away. I'm sauteing the greens so that they lose all of their water. If I added the liquid right now, the braising liquid would taste too vegetal. It would taste really green. You would get a lot of chlorophyll. But because I'm sauteing the greens down first, you're going to get the intense flavor of the stock that I add. So I am using a chicken stock today. You could use water, you could use a vegetable stock, you could just steep this chili pepper in some hot water and use that as your braising liquid, and that would be fine too. I like to use chicken stock because it adds another dimension of flavor. In my house, I cook with a lot of stocks that I make myself. I like to have that on hand, and it adds a lot of body to vegetable dishes like this because of the gelatin in the stock. Okay, and as you can see, these are reduced down pretty well. Now I'm just going to add a little blast of the stock. Not a whole lot. If I had tough greens, like end of the season greens or big bunches of greens that that were a little tougher, I would add about 2 cups of this stock and really cook them down. When I cook my collard greens, you can cook them for up to 2 hours and they just keep getting better. So it depends on the toughness of the greens, but we can just saute these for a little bit, just long enough for the chili to give some of its flavor to the braising liquid. Come up to the boil by putting a lid over it. If you're cooking over something more than a match, which is about the equivalent of what I'm cooking with right here, you don't have to put a lid over it. It'll just come up. Depends on your stove. But this helps to bring it to the boil more quickly. Now you could add anything to this recipe that you want. I have some late season tomatoes here that I'm going to toss in. I hope gravity doesn't get the best of them. That's picked up some of the flavor of that chili, and that's going to bring a lot to the dish. And I am going to serve this as an appetizer.
Oh good.
You work for Wave Hill and I'm busting out the Wave Hill bread. Because you could put it over pasta with rice. Really keep it in the refrigerator and have it on hand. Like I said, you can toss it into soups. And this I'm going to serve on a crostini. You could do this as a light meal. If you could picture this on like a nice big crostini. Have this with maybe a little salad on the side or a wedge of cheese or something.
I wonder if you're going to like that.
Oh, you like pre-toasted.
I pre-toasted. I'm so all about the Wave Hill bread, right? So I love this bread. They make this by hand in a traditional manner. You could probably fill us in a little bit more on the details.
Put the top on it.
And I've toasted both sides. When you make crostini, you don't have to toast both sides. But because this is a pretty wet preparation, I wanted to make sure I had a nice firm crouton to go underneath of it. And it's going to absorb all that liquid, and then you're going to get a really nice texture from the combination. So
You cover them with olive oil?
I just drizzled a little olive oil on it, and then I popped it under the broiler, gave it a flip, and toasted both sides.
Cool.
And you don't have to use tomatoes. Like I said, you could use leftovers, whatever you had. White beans would be great. A little roasted squash is good in this too. And I'm not going to cook them for too long. I just want the heat of the braised greens to pop the tomatoes. There's great olive oil at the market. You could drizzle a little bit of that on top. And I'm a big fan of nice butter. You know, put a little drizzle of butter on top, or shave some nice hard cheese on top, and you can still just have your steamed vegetables and just, you know what else is really nice? Sesame oil. If you have a little sesame oil just to drizzle on top, it has so much flavor, you don't have to use a lot, and it really changes the nature of your dish. The greens have cooked down. This chili pepper, which is not bringing a lot of heat, it's just bringing a smoky flavor, has softened and given a lot of flavor to this braising liquid. If I was going to serve this as a side dish, I might braise all the liquid out of it. I might cook it all down so that it's nice and dry. But with this on the crostini, it's going to soak up this liquid. And the rule in my house is you don't have to like it, but you do have to smell it.
You don't have to taste it, just smell it?
No, you don't even have to taste it. You just have to give it a whiff. If I can get it, you know, that far, that close to the face, my chances are pretty good. It's a nice smoky smell. It doesn't take that long. You could braise it for longer. I mean, it really would stand up too. You could make it a head. It's very versatile. It's very sturdy, non-fussy green dish to do. Spitting is perfectly permissible.